Thank you, Mario. Absolutely fabulous talk. There's a man who knows his stuff. We're going to bring up our next panel now. We're going to talk a little bit more about NFTs and DeFi and how this is going to shape the future and change things that are coming up. And we all know this is the case. We're all here today because we're all fascinated and excited about how this whole space is evolving. The reality is we don't really know how it's going to change in the future. We're trying to shape that now. And we've got some of the key players now who are going to come and talk about that. So I'd just like to introduce Joanna to come up and bring her panel on. And I'll hand it over to you. It's lovely to meet you.
So we got Mark from Near.
Hi, everyone.
Susanna, we've Oliver, and we've got Annie. And we're going to be talking about DeFi and, sorry, is that right? Nope. Okay. So we're going to be talking about how NFTs and DeFi will make a brighter future. So we met yesterday, and we talked, and we had a kind of a funny moment. We were like, God, it's so broad. So it's like talking about how do you solve world peace in a way. But I think, and then we started talking about Metaverse. And we're like, okay, well, how do we tie back? And I think it's probably best to start off by talking. Can everyone hear me now? No? Okay. So the conversation got very broad about Metaverse, and then we were like, okay, well, let's start at the very beginning. So I'm actually going to get Oliver to kind of, for the newbies here that want to know about DeFi is like, and NFTs, it's just like, what has been the timeline in the history thus far? So Oliver, do you want to kick that off?
I mean, sure. Can you hear me? Okay, I can hear myself as well. So, I think the first example of NFTs was Namecoin. And Namecoin is an open DNS that, like this is in the early days, so 2013 was when I got into the space, and there were a few cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, Litecoin, Namecoin, and a handful of others, all forks of Bitcoin. And so proof of work, straight, what we know as a standard blockchain today. And so Namecoin as an open DNS sought to decentralize that structure by allowing you to have unique identifiers. And the promise of the project was great, but it didn't really find product market fit. And if you advance, there have been other NFT projects on Counterparty, which is another pretty old protocol, had a number of NFT sort of obscure artworks which were done on them. And what was really missing was the appropriate, the properties of blockchains at that time really didn't support scalability and programmability in the way that the Ethereum and Solana and broadly speaking NFT standards allow today. And so fast forwarding a little bit further, there was the now famous CryptoPunks project and EtherRocks, which again were, Larva Labs did the CryptoPunks, and that's a very clever team. I think EtherRocks was more of a series of almost identical rocks, which are now worth millions of dollars. And each of them was like experimenting with the intersection between culture and the technology itself. You want me to use this? Hello? Wow. Okay. That's different. Should I turn this off? There you go. So I'm not going to repeat everything I've said, but I'm going to summarize it very quickly. Namecoin, open DNS, very early project. Then we had Counterparty, had a number of artwork experimental projects. Interestingly, these art projects are now being architecturally excavated by programmers who are seeking to essentially wrap these old NFTs in the Ethereum NFT standard. And then we had CryptoPunks and Ether Rocks. Those are like art collections. CryptoKitties was a big gaming blockchain project in 2017, 2018. It actually congested the entire Ethereum network, and I think that was a precursor to what we're seeing today, which is this huge intersection between art, culture, metaverse, gaming, blockchain, and that's only one cut of what an NFT is. So,
and you're kind of touching on a point. Is, we also talked yesterday about how they're not mutually exclusive. They kind of exist together. You can't have NFTs and not have DeFi to actually allow it to happen for people to interact. But the title, coming back to it, is like, how does it build a brighter future? Okay, and it's just, I guess, kind of, Susanna, do you want to how is it doing that? How is it building a brighter future right now?
So I can see that at the moment it's already, for instance, we have already a much bigger inclusion with NFTs from the women's side. So at the beginning, crypto, Bitcoin, blockchain is quite male-sided. Yeah, but NFTs brought a wide range of women creators into the space. And if we take it further, not only women, but different minorities, as you have the chance, the minorities have the opportunity to show their art, their creation, their music to the whole world, and the world is their judge. So no galleries, no music labels, so they can show it and have the opportunity to go out and to show what they can do, as well in remote places like in Africa or in Asia, where probably they would never have had the chance to build their followers, to build their community through their art. So this is one point, and the other point, I see a very bright future for NFTs as collaterals in order to give them a chance in a decentralized finance to build an own business. So if you, for example, own an NFT and then can put it as a collateral and get a loan for it, get something lended in order to buy or build a business in a remote place like in Africa or in South America. So you can do it now without banks involved. So this was a huge barrier for these communities, and slowly they can do it and they can open up. And lastly, I would say that as well in all these communities, digital identity, we shouldn't forget that we can go the way towards digital identity as an NFT. So I think these are the three major points where I can see NFTs and decentralized finance.
Brilliant.
Very bright.
It would be really nice to start seeing those people that are positively affected by NFTs and DeFi, and really start to spell that out for future users to kind of see, okay, well, because I think there's that kind of barrier of ooh, just nervousness. Is this actually real? But Annie, what are Oliver touched on the timeline, the history of NFTs and DeFi, but we all saw the explosion of art and NFTs, and I'm really interested to hear your take on the major trends and verticals that we're starting to see gaining adoption with NFTs 2.0.
Yeah, sure. I think there are different verticals of the NFTs, and when we look at it, there is the art side of it, which also has different trends within it. It's the different kind of, what I call crossroads and marriages between two spheres, like the DeFi and NFT, the gaming and NFT, the fashion and NFTs. So there are many, when we say NFTs, many especially crypto artists think that it's only, concerning the art sphere because that's what they are in it. But it's a very broad kind of, term that has different applications. So if I'll go over like the broader trends, and then we can talk about the trends specifically in NFT art. So obviously, since the topic is about DeFi and NFTs, there have been loads of products that are being built in this field where different projects are trying to unlock the liquidity of the NFTs and also provide different financial instruments, bring financial power to the NFTs of the people. So, for example, at Niftyfi, what we do is we have built a platform where people can get a crypto loan or lend cryptocurrency by having the NFT as a collateral to secure the loan. And basically what happens in this case is that NFTs get the bring liquidity when it's needed, and also make people, get revenue as well from their funds that they're lending. There are different other DeFi NFT projects which basically bring NFTs, wrap them, bring into the DeFi space. So then you can take advantage of all the DeFi elements and opportunities there by using it that way. And I'm sure that there will be different sort of NFT finance elements coming in. So there will be lots of innovation in finding out ways of how can, just like DeFi became a term of its own, I feel like, NFT finance will be another new branch that will be emerging. In terms of NFTs in arts, I have a feeling that before, in the beginning, we had this trend of creators who were just, putting out their art into this platform, the really appealing story of getting rid of the gatekeepers. Now I have this opportunity to show my art and get people who will like it and directly sell it to them. So it was unlocking potential. We had really nice stories of artists who were leaving their 9-to-5 hateful jobs so they can do what they love full time. Now I have a feeling that, artists are working towards getting more utility for their NFTs. They're working into what else apart from just that art piece they can give to their collectors, and looking into more value that they can provide in the future. So there are many different experimentations in terms of utility of the tokens that they are issuing, but also experimentations in format. So there are loads of collaborations, there are loads of things that people create that are not just 3D art or not just GIFs or not just images, right? So what I'm seeing is a more complex artworks where a musician and a 3D artist and a poet collaborate together and create like a mini videos or mini storytelling, digital storytelling pieces. So I feel like there will be like the limits are being pushed, and collectors are expecting more, and more artists are looking into collaborating with the tech talent as well in order to use the potential of the NFT technology to create like really projects that combine the strengths from both sides. So that's the trend. I really hope that in the future there will be more collaborations between the tech talent and the coders and the artists.
Brilliant, thanks, Annie. So we're now going to take a 180. We're going to talk about Meta. Mark, we're hearing a lot about Meta, and the topic has catapulted obviously into the media with Zuckerberg's announcement. Where will DeFi and NFTs feature in this?
Wow, I mean...
And we're going to talk about this for the whole rest of the talk.
Well, I guess linking it back to the topic of the panel of DeFi for good and NFTs for good and the Metaverse, what the Metaverse has enabled is this Cambrian explosion of creativity. Previously, the blockchain has been the domain of, I guess, what was perceived as currencies, people making new kinds of money and different financial instruments and those kind of things. And people were afraid that, you know, a lawyer or an accountant's job would be taken away by a smart contract and various other computer functions. Whereas you can't teach a computer creativity, which I absolutely love this aspect that the blockchain is now a place where creatives can come and play and show their talent, demonstrate that talent to the entire world. And from an objective point of view, people can appreciate what they want to appreciate, make a transaction, they can buy it, they can hold it, and then they can use that to form part of their persona within the metaverse. It's very, very early for the metaverse. I'm not sure how many people here have been in a metaverse application by raising your hands. Okay, cool. So, I mean, we think of it as a game, we think of it as an online space where you can kind of hang out, but I guess what we've done at the NEAR Foundation is we have a lot of meetings in the metaverse. So you sit at a round table and you can do a slide deck or a presentation or present any kind of media on a big whiteboard kind of thing in the metaverse while you're all sitting around with your avatar at a round table, a board table, and it's thinking about, you know, all these different utilities as the world's got smaller. You know, a couple of panels brought it up earlier, you know, we're going more digital, we're not going to the office, these kind of interactions are more frequent. So it's not just games, it's not just entertainment, it's actual real world applications where you can go into a meeting with your peers or a professional meeting, I guess if you work in a creative industry, and if you roll in with your punk avatar, like you're an OG straight away, it gives you a lot of really good social credibility. And it demonstrates you know what you're talking about in the space, and you know it's only up from there. It's going to build layers upon layers upon layers. I'm very, very excited about it all.
Are you not a little bit scared?
I'm not scared. Like, yeah.
Does anyone want to jump in? Do you guys want to kind of? No, you're good. Good. Cool. So, what are the kind of major failings or barrier to entry on adoption to DeFi and NFTs today?
Well, I think going back to the points I said about the inclusion of minorities and all communities, I think one of the major barriers is the connectivity of 4 billion people, for example, at the moment. They are still not connected to the internet, so this creativity, this art that these people can give, and as well the economy that they can bring in and out, this whole economy flow, so they're still not there. So I think this is one of the major barriers that we face if we look at globally, instead of only looking where we are, where are these people there? And I know there are companies working towards it in order to connect these people, as well decentralized, in order to give them an opportunity to have a digital identity and to have a name and then to be connected and can get into the space and can get into the lending world and build for themselves a future. So this is one of the barriers that I see, and I'm sure my colleagues.
Okay. Yeah, I've got one to chime in. I think one of the barriers today, being blatant about it, is the cost of doing a transaction on the main network at the moment, Ethereum. You know, people in developing nations and communities just simply can't afford to mint an NFT or deploy a smart contract or anything like that in DeFi. So it's very important that, you know, the tech behind the existing players is improved, you know, with the different EIPs coming through, and that is updated. But I definitely encourage people to look at other layer one solutions that are out there, because, you know, these guys are gaining traction, and the focus is absolutely on being inclusive for people in all different geographies, financial situations, those kind of things. So that is definitely a main barrier. And just one other quick one is grifters, scammers. Like they operate in the space. People are really afraid of parting their money for and being involved in DeFi and NFTs because, you know, they're not confident in transacting in a place that has so many scams. So the onus is on us to self-regulate, call out bad actors and those kind of things to make sure that it's a good, safe space for everyone to operate in.
So an NFT is a non-fungible token, and fungibility being a property of interchangeability between goods which are identical. And I want to say that because we're using the acronym, but a non-fungible token is a digital asset which has a unique identity. And it can be applied to art and collectibles and metaverse and gaming, but it can also be applied to sovereign identity, supply chain logistics, bespoke financial contracts. And so when the question is asked, what are the barriers to NFT adoption? Well, I can get my CryptoPunk put on a pair of sneakers, and conversely, I can buy a pair of sneakers, which through a supply chain logistics smart contract already is represented as an NFT on chain. And so, you know, I think as an industry, we're still looking for the right words for a lot of the things we're doing. And NFT is a catch-all for anything, any good that can exist in a digital world which is not fungible, which is most of the things. Every one of us, every item of clothing, every chair in the room, every floorboard can be represented as an NFT. And we're going to see, and we're already seeing, the use cases of NFTs applied not just in the artwork and gaming and metaverse arena, but applied in every component of our life. And so if the question is, like, what are the barriers to the adoption of NFTs as they relate to DeFi, the same barriers that exist for financial inclusion and have forever, which are things like the last mile, access to internet connection in the age of blockchain, affordable transactions, education curves around how to use these things. But if you ask me in 3 years, what's the barrier to having an NFT that represents ownership of an item of jewelry? There's none. That's provenance. And so I only share that because NFTs are such a broad conversation to have. And, you know, we can sort of dissect and discuss any vertical.
Yeah, so like NFTs and DeFi, building a brighter future, for me, that's how do you make it inclusive, like to everyone? And what I see a lot of the time is actually getting, you know, that diverse group of people to actually use it and understand it. So like we just described there, right, there's very few people that would actually understand that. And even coming up with bodies who are trying to attract, like, you know, groups like SheFi, for instance, you know, that are bringing kind of like women into DeFi, which are, you know, so valuable because, you know, if you leave that diverse group behind, then we're definitely not making it a brighter future. Another observation, just kind of like listening as well, is I see a massive issue with UX and user, and I'm interested to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, you're not going to get, in crypto we're saying, like, if your grandma or aunt can't use it, you're never going to get mass adoption. So I'm sure you're all aware of the Ethereum ENS drop that happened yesterday. If you registered a domain name with your Ethereum address, they did an airdrop and you got a whole bunch of tokens, whereas other blockchains out there are doing that natively. So you've got your name.near, for example, as our wallet, how you interface with the blockchain. So making it simple enough where you've got an address that's attached to a browser that you can interact with these Web3 applications, that holds your identity, that holds your value, you know, that is absolutely integral to bringing people on. And we've got to focus on the user experience for everyone, you know, make it as simple as possible for the lowest common denominator, and that's how we will get mass adoption.
Yeah, I think there are also two elements to this, right? I think the most common response to how do we get mass adoption is many people use it like education as a way to it. I just feel like very often the way we look at the education is the wrong way, because we end up explaining what is blockchain, how it works, and just going down that rabbit hole, instead of simplifying and telling stories that people care about and talking about the benefits from their real life that it's bringing. So, because very often, if you look at it, like, we all use the internet, we all send emails. I don't know how it works exactly, but probably I don't even have to know. All I know is that, I need that message to get to the person on time. It works really well, and I have to push one button, send button, and it's gone, right? So there are two elements to this, kind of, the stories that we tell people have to resonate and have to be simple enough, because if you choose, like, you can't change people's lifestyle and habits. If you expect that the person will watch a YouTube video explaining what is blockchain versus a Netflix series, then, it's not going to happen, right? So that's the story part, and the way how to sort of, in a simple way, do that education bit. And the second element is to make it as user-friendly as anything else that they're using. So if we're talking about DeFi, unless DeFi is as simple to use as any mobile banking app, it's a learning curve, and people are by nature lazy, and it's just, you can't expect them to do the effort. If you want mass adoption and for everyone to use it, then we have to get to a stage where it's very effortlessly and seamlessly to use that thing. And we're not there yet, because it's still early and there are lots of things to figure out for now.
What do you think is, like, I'm interested to hear, what do you think, like, we solve this, how we solve this problem?
Well, from what I see, I'm a mother. So my son is 13, goes to school, and the school looks like 100 years ago, meaning school is amazing, facilities amazing, but how the children are taught, it's still very, very old school. So how she said, education is one of the most important points, and starting very early. I can't understand that children in secondary school don't know about decentralized finance with very simple steps and very simple use cases, so they can bring it forward, and they can as well see the future. As I can say, a child's mind is very, very bright and doesn't have any limitations, so they can see how further we can go. So I believe this is a point that obviously has to come from the governments to change, but this is definitely a point to be changed, and in order to bring it more to the masses, and in order to see there a brighter future. If we don't teach our children, we don't do anything else.
Yeah, I can't emphasize that point on education enough. Within the blockchain space, we're all very fortunate. It's been a good market for the last few years. It's been a good 10 years. So we've got to give that money back to the community, and education is the way. Like I said, we have to encourage these builders, these creative minds, to build these applications that we don't even know are possible. There's going to be applications in the next 5-10 years that no one's thought about now, and it is going to change the world. I think we all know that. That's why we're all here. We're all interested in it. We've got to take the responsibility to educate and use the deep pockets that we have in the space to support that.
Oliver, how, like, in the work that you do on a day-to-day basis with Panther, how do you make a brighter future in DeFi?
That's with Panther?
Yeah.
So, just for context, Panther is a multi-chain privacy protocol, and I got into this industry on the promise of an open and independent payment system, which was Bitcoin. Because I'm from the Caribbean, and our payment systems are very closed off, and we have major issues with our banking, correspondent banks, and essentially, even to this day, e-commerce is almost non-existent in my island, Barbados, and in many of the islands. And it's really due to a lot of friction that exists around the payment systems and sovereignty. And if you look at the genesis of the cypherpunk movement, which was what spawned Bitcoin, the cypherpunk manifesto is entirely premised around privacy of data and the fact that data, when shared, will propagate and is inclined to propagate itself. So when you apply blockchain mechanics and augmented reality, virtual reality, entire payment systems, entire information systems being redesigned and built on public ledgers, and then you frame that in the context of a global economy which is already a surveillance-driven economy where our data is collected and monetized by Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, Google, Meta, whatever. We find ourselves in a very dangerous place of undermining democracy and freedom in a way that it becomes very, very difficult for us to actually live in a fair and democratic and free society. So the work that I'm doing with Panther, and of course our team, is to build a multi-chain privacy protocol to allow every asset issued on a blockchain and every transmission of data on Web3 to be private. When data is private, you own it. When you own it, you can negotiate its disclosure. If you don't own it, then your negotiating position is undermined. And so there's an equilibrium that we have to strike between disclosure and privacy. And so the work we're doing is, using zero-knowledge proofs and other privacy-enhancing technologies.
Okay, you're getting in the weeds now.
Yeah, I'll stop right there.
I'm actually getting, are we, yeah, we're good. Okay, cool. Listen, thank you so much for listening. And I think you're all around today, aren't you? So if anyone wants to talk to any of the panelists, they're there for a chat. And thank you very much.